Sometimes the most beautiful revenge is becoming someone they'd never recognize. She walks past him on Tuesday morning. Gray wool sweater, scuffed boots, hair cut sharp at her jaw. He doesn't even glance up from his coffee. 10 years ago, this same man told her she'd never be anything without him. 10 years ago, this town watched her leave with one suitcase and a broken heart. Today, she's a billionaire divorcee worth more than their entire zip code, and absolutely no one recognizes the girl they threw away. Her kids skip beside her down Main Street. Safe, happy, protected by wealth so quiet it doesn't even whisper. While he fixes leaky pipes for a living, she owns the building he's working in. The irony tastes better than her morning latte. But here's what gets me about this story. She didn't come back to destroy anyone. She came back to save the one place that never saved her. And when the truth finally comes out, well, let's just say some people are about to learn what they actually lost. Have you ever outgrown someone so completely that seeing them again feels like looking at your past life through bulletproof glass? Now, sit back and enjoy this story about a woman who turned her heartbreak into an empire and her hometown into her greatest investment. The fluorescent lights in the Oakhaven Community Center buzz like angry wasps. Maeve Gallagher sits in the back row, manila folder balanced on her knees. Her fingers trace the edge of the document inside. $3 million in certified funds. The room smells like burnt coffee and decades of budget meetings. Folding chairs scrape against linoleum. People whisper about property taxes and potholes. Normal Tuesday night problems for normal Tuesday night people. None of them look at her twice. 10 years ago, cars would slow down on Main Street just to watch her walk to the mailbox. Back then, she was their golden girl. Peach Festival queen with hair that caught sunlight like spun gold and a smile that made grown men forget their wives' names. Today, her dark hair barely touches her collar. No makeup. No jewelry except a simple watch that cost more than most of these people make in 6 months. But they don't know that. To them, she's just another out-of-town buyer here to lowball their desperate little community. Perfect. At the front of the room, Silas Thorne waves his hands at a projection screen. Same broad shoulders. Same way of standing with his weight shifted left, favoring that old football injury. His work jacket has fresh drywall dust on the sleeves. You sell Miller Farm to some faceless corporation, and they'll pave paradise for a strip mall, he says. His voice still carries without trying. It's the last piece of original farmland we have left. Mayor Hendricks adjusts his glasses. The buyer submitted a certified check, Silas. $3 million. Unless someone in this room has that kind of cash lying around, the vote goes forward next week. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. 3 million might as well be 3 billion to most of these folks. Oakhaven's been bleeding population for a decade. Young people leave. Old people die. The tax base shrinks every year. Maeve stands up. Her boots squeak against the floor as she walks down the center aisle. Every step measured, every movement deliberate. When she reaches the front table, she places her manila folder next to the mayor's gavel. I have the capital, she says. The room goes quiet. Not dramatic movie quiet, real quiet. The kind where someone's ice machine kicks on in the back kitchen and everyone can hear it. Mayor Hendricks opens the folder. His eyebrows climb toward his hairline. And you are? Maeve Gallagher. The name hangs in the air like smoke. A few people shift in their seats. Someone coughs. Silas turns around slowly like he's not sure he heard correctly. He looks at her face. Really looks. Searching past the short hair and the plain clothes for something familiar. His mouth opens slightly. Then closes. Maeve? The word comes out like he's testing it. Hello, Silas. Before he can respond, a small voice pipes up from the back row. Mama. Leo took my blue crayon. Maeve turns. 2 children sit cross-legged on the floor near the exit doors. A boy, maybe 5, builds careful towers with wooden blocks. A girl, slightly younger, glares at him while clutching a fistful of crayons. The boy has dark hair that sticks up in the back. The girl taps her red crayon against her knee in a steady rhythm. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. Silas follows her gaze. He stares at the children. really stares, the boy's jawline, the girl's habit of tapping when she concentrates, features that mirror his own face in old high school photos. His breathing changes, shallow, careful, like a man who just realized he's standing on thin ice. "Meeting's adjourned," Mayor Hendricks mutters. He senses the sudden shift in atmospheric pressure. People file out, whispering to each other. Speculation and gossip fuel small towns better than electricity. By morning, half the county will have theories about the mysterious woman with $3 million and 2 kids who looks suspiciously familiar. But Silas doesn't move. He waits until the doors swing shut, leaving just the 4 of them in the echoing space. "Are they yours?" His voice is completely flat. No anger, no shock, just a man asking for basic information. "Yes." "Are they mine?" Maeve looks down at the scuffed linoleum. "Leo is 5. Clara is 4. Math doesn't lie." Silas walks to a plastic chair and sits down hard. His elbows rest on his knees. Work boots planted wide. He stares at the floor like it might offer explanations. "You left 6 years ago," he says finally. "Left a note on my kitchen counter. Said you got a job offer in Chicago. Said small towns weren't for you anymore." "I know what I wrote." "You were pregnant?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" The question every woman dreads. The one that requires explaining choices made in desperation and terror. Maeve grips the edge of the folding table until her knuckles go white. "Because if I told you, you would have gone to federal prison." Silas looks up. "What are you talking about?" "My father embezzled $400,000 from the town development fund. You were the lead contractor on the Main Street project. The paper trail led straight to your signature on the change orders." Understanding dawns in his eyes, slow and cold. "Arthur Pendleton found out about it," Maeve continues. "He offered to make the debt disappear, pay the town back anonymously, destroy the audit records. In exchange, I had to marry him. And I had to leave Oakhaven forever. Never contact anyone here again." The words taste like ash. Even now, years later, the memory of Arthur's ultimatum makes her stomach clench. Silas stands up, paces to the projection screen and back. "So you just agreed? Sold yourself to save me from a white-collar conviction?" 18 months in federal prison, Silas. Loss of your contractor's license. Loss of everything you'd built. Arthur wanted a young, pretty wife to clean up his image with investors. And he wanted you out of the picture because you were the only one organizing resistance to his commercial buyouts. She watches his face process this. The betrayal, the sacrifice, the impossible position she'd been trapped in. "Arthur didn't want children," she says quietly. "When I found out I was pregnant with Leo, I hid it. Used my own money for private medical care. When he found out anyway, he threatened to destroy the evidence that cleared your name. Put my father in prison. Ruin you both." Silas stops pacing. "So what did you do?" "I started my own company, logistics and supply chain management. Spent 5 years systematically undercutting Arthur's business relationships. Bought up his debt, cornered his board members. I divorced him 14 months ago and took half his net worth in the settlement." The fluorescent lights hum overhead. Clara abandons her crayons and walks over to where Silas stands frozen. She holds up her red crayon like an offering. "Here," she says simply. Silas looks down at her. This little person he's never met but somehow helped create. His daughter, his child. The word feels foreign and perfect at the same time. He takes the crayon. "Thank you." Clara nods, satisfied, and returns to her coloring. Leo continues building his tower, oblivious to the adult drama unfolding around him. "Where are you staying?" Silas asks. "The Henderson place on Route 9. I rented it while I handle the Miller farm purchase. I'll come by tomorrow, if that's okay, after their naps." Maeve nods. "That's okay. If you're wondering how a woman builds a billion-dollar empire while raising 2 kids in secret, stick with me. This story is about to show you exactly what someone can accomplish when they have everything to lose and nothing left to fear." The Henderson house sits at the end of a gravel driveway, surrounded by oak trees that drop leaves like golden coins. Maeve chose it specifically because it's isolated no neighbors to ask questions, no sidewalks where curious locals might strike up conversations. She's learned to value invisibility. The next afternoon, Silas pulls his beat-up Ford into the driveway. He sits behind the wheel for a full minute before getting out. In the passenger seat, a cardboard box holds wooden blocks he'd sanded smooth in his workshop until 2 in the morning. Maeve opens the front door before he can knock. She wears a faded college t-shirt and leggings. Her feet are bare. She looks younger somehow, away from the fluorescent lights and folding chairs. "They're in the backyard," she says, stepping aside. The house smells like lemon polish and something baking. Silas follows her through rooms that feel lived in but temporary. No family photos. No personal touches. Like a vacation rental where people pass through but never really settle. The back deck overlooks a small yard, where Leo digs in a patch of dirt with a plastic trowel. Clara drags a stick through mud puddles left by yesterday's rain. Silas sets his box on the deck railing. "Hey guys." Leo looks up, dirt smudged on his cheek. "Mama said you build things." "I do." Silas opens the box and pulls out wooden blocks cut from oak and maple scraps, each one sanded smooth as silk. "I brought these for you. The ones at the community center looked pretty beat up." Leo abandons his trowel and walks over. He picks up a triangular piece and a square one, testing how they fit together. His face lights up. "These are way better." Clara marches over, pointing at Silas's work boots. They're caked with dried concrete and mud. "Boots dirty," she announces. "Yeah, I was pouring a foundation this morning. Should have cleaned them first." "Mama doesn't like dirty boots in the house," Clara states matter-of-factly. "I know," Silas says. Through the screen door, he can see Maeve at the kitchen sink, pretending not to listen. "She always made me leave mine on the porch." Over the next 3 weeks, Silas shows up every Tuesday and Thursday at exactly 2:30. Never early. Never late. He brings wooden toys from his workshop. Smooth cars carved from pine. Building blocks that fit together like puzzles. Maeve watches him from the kitchen window while she does dishes or folds laundry. He never talks down to Leo and Clara. When Leo asks how houses stay standing, Silas draws diagrams on napkins and explains load-bearing beams like he's talking to a fellow contractor. When Clara throws a fit because her drawing tears, he doesn't tell her to stop crying. He just produces a roll of clear tape and shows her how to make it stronger. "Why do you know about kid stuff?" Maeve asks him one afternoon while Leo and Clara nap upstairs. Silas shrugs, cleaning paint off his hands with a wet rag. "My sister has 4 kids. I've been the emergency babysitter since I was 16. He doesn't mention that he's spent the last 3 weeks reading parenting books in his truck before coming inside. Or that he called his sister at midnight last Tuesday asking how to handle tantrums. The routine becomes comfortable, natural. Leo starts saving his best block towers to show Silas. Clara draws him pictures of elephants and rainbows. They fight over who gets to sit next to him during story time. But Maeve stays guarded, polite, like she's hosting a guest who might leave at any moment. One Thursday evening, after the kids are asleep, they sit on the back porch with mugs of coffee. The October air carries the smell of burning leaves and wood smoke from distant chimneys. "The town council approved the Miller farm transfer," Maeve says, handing him a steaming mug. "I'm not building a strip mall. I'm converting the main barn into a vocational training center. Free carpentry and masonry classes for local kids." Silas takes a careful sip. The coffee is strong and black, exactly how he likes it. "That's why you bought it." "This town is dying, Silas. Young people leave because there's nothing here for them. No jobs that don't require college degrees. No trades programs. No hope." She stares out at the tree line. "I grew up here. I know what it needs." "You could have built that training center anywhere. You have more money than God. Why come back to a place that drove you away?" Maeve is quiet for a long moment. An owl calls from the oak trees. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks. Because Arthur is appealing the divorce settlement, she says finally. He's claiming I hid assets during the proceedings. Specifically, he's claiming I concealed the existence of my children to avoid triggering a clause in our prenuptial agreement. Silas sets his mug down. What kind of clause? If either of us had biological children during the marriage, the other spouse gets partial custody to protect their inheritance rights. Arthur's lawyers are arguing that Leo and Clara are his legal heirs, even though he's not their biological father. The words hang in the cool air like smoke. His private investigators found us when I registered Leo for a pediatrician appointment here. Arthur doesn't give a damn about the kids, he just wants leverage. If he can prove they exist and that I hid them, he can tie me up in court for a decade and seize voting control of my company. Silas leans forward. What are you going to do? I packed the car tonight, Maeve says. Her voice is completely practical. No panic, no drama. Just a woman stating facts. We're driving to Montana in the morning. I own a ranch there, completely off-grid. Arthur's investigators won't find us until the legal appeals run out. You're running away. I'm protecting my children. You're running away, Silas repeats. He stands up, paces to the porch railing. Just like you did 6 years ago. Maeve's coffee mug hits the wooden table harder than necessary. I left 6 years ago to keep you out of federal prison. Don't you dare act like I did it for kicks. And what happens when Leo asks why he doesn't have a father? When Clara asks why they have to hide in the wilderness like fugitives? Silas turns to face her. You built a logistics empire from nothing. You systematically destroyed a billionaire's business network. You're not running from some lawsuit. He has an army of corporate lawyers, Silas. The best legal talent money can buy. And you have a biological father willing to claim paternity, Silas says quietly. Maeve stops mid-breath. What? If Arthur claims the kids are his legal heirs, I'll file for official paternity recognition, DNA tests, birth certificate amendments, the whole process. His voice is steady, certain. Arthur can't claim inheritance rights over another man's biological children, especially when his divorce papers specifically state he had no offspring from the marriage. Maeve stares at him. If you do that, you'll be in the public record. Arthur's legal team will investigate every aspect of your life. They'll claim you're an uneducated small-town contractor who can't provide proper support. Let them try. The simple confidence in his voice catches her off guard. This isn't the boy she knew at 19. This is a man who's learned to stand his ground. I'm not letting you take them to Montana, he says. They deserve better than running. Friday morning, a black sedan with tinted windows idles outside the Henderson house. The courier who approaches the front door wears a suit that costs more than most people's monthly rent. Maeve accepts the thick envelope with steady hands. Arthur's legal team works fast when they smell blood in the water. The cease and desist letter is exactly what she expected. Immediate surrender of physical custody, pending judicial review of parental rights. Threats of contempt charges if she attempts to relocate the children outside state jurisdiction. She sets the letter on the kitchen counter and walks into the living room. Leo builds elaborate structures with Silas's wooden blocks. Clara colors in a book about farm animals, humming tunelessly under her breath. Maeve pulls out her phone. It's me. I need the jet fueled and ready at the regional airport. We're leaving tonight. She hangs up and heads for the hall closet where she keeps their go bags. Always packed, always ready. Old habits from a marriage where emotional terrorism was a daily reality. Gravel crunches in the driveway. Silas's truck door slams. Heavy footsteps on the porch. He walks in without knocking, sees the suitcases by the stairs. You're leaving. He filed the injunction. Maeve zips a duffel bag with efficient movements. If I stay, the local sheriff might have to enforce a temporary custody order. I won't risk them taking Leo and Clara, even for an hour. Silas walks over and puts his hand on the suitcase handle. Stop! Move, Silas! No. He doesn't raise his voice, doesn't get emotional, just plants his feet like a man who's decided something. I filed the paperwork this morning. DNA test is already scheduled with the county clerk. I retained Mitchell, Barnes & Associates out of Boston. They specialize in corporate extortion cases. Maeve lets go of the bag. You hired a Boston law firm. Silas. That costs thousands of dollars per hour. I have savings, and I took a second mortgage on the workshop. She stares at him like he's speaking a foreign language. You mortgaged your business for kids you met 3 weeks ago? They're my kids, Silas says simply. And I've loved you since I was 19 years old. I'm not letting you disappear again. The honesty in his voice breaks something open in her chest. Maeve looks toward the front door, then back at him. She sits down on the bottom step of the staircase and puts her face in her hands. She doesn't cry, just breathes, long and shaky. Silas sits beside her, close enough that their shoulders touch. He doesn't try to hug her or offer empty reassurances. Just sits there like a wall she can lean against if she needs to. I'm scared, she admits quietly. I know. Arthur destroys people who cross him. It's what he does for entertainment. Then he's about to learn what happens when he messes with the wrong family. If you didn't see that coming, hit the like button because this story is about to get a whole lot more intense. The legal battle unfolds over 4 brutal months. Arthur's team comes at them like a hurricane. Depositions, financial audits, character assassination attempts. They try to paint Silas as an opportunistic gold digger who swooped in to claim children that aren't his. Silas sits in conference rooms wearing his best suit, answering invasive questions with calm precision. Yes, he's a contractor. No, he doesn't have a college degree. Yes, he took out loans to pay for legal representation. And what exactly qualifies you to raise children, Mr. Thorne? Arthur's lead attorney asks during one particularly hostile deposition. I love them, Silas answers. I show up. I keep my promises. I put their needs before my own convenience. He slides a folder across the table. Tax returns. Business licenses. Architectural plans for the vocational training center he's designing with Maeve. I may not have billions of dollars, he says, but I know how to build things that last, including families. The turning point comes in February. Maeve's legal team subpoenas Arthur's internal communications. Buried in thousands of emails, they find the smoking gun. A message from Arthur to his chief counsel, dated 3 days after the divorce was finalized. I have zero interest in those brats. This is purely strategic. Force her to surrender voting control or face a decade of custody litigation. Either way, I win. Faced with public exposure of his extortion scheme, Arthur's lawyers quietly withdraw all claims. The divorce settlement stands. Maeve keeps full custody and complete control of Gallagher Freight. March arrives with muddy boots and the smell of wet earth. The Miller farm renovation begins on a Tuesday morning under a sky that can't decide between rain and sunshine. Maeve stands in the main barn, watching contractors strip away decades of accumulated rust and neglect. The original timber beams are still solid. Good bones, as Silas would say. Everything else needs rebuilding from the ground up. The electrical will take 3 weeks, Silas reports, walking up with blueprints rolled under his arm. His work clothes are already dusty, though it's barely 9 in the morning. Plumbing's more complicated. We're running water lines to 12 individual workshop stations. Whatever it takes, Maeve says. She's learned to trust his judgment on construction details. Silas builds things to last 100 years, even when faster options would save money. Leo and Clara race between sawhorses, playing some elaborate game involving wooden blocks and imaginary dragons. They've adapted to the construction chaos like kids adapt to everything, with endless curiosity and zero fear. Careful around the power tools, Silas calls out automatically. They nod without slowing down. By now they know the workshop rules by heart. Stay visible, no running near equipment, hard hats in the active work zones. They're getting comfortable here, Maeve observes. Kids need space to explore, Silas says. The Henderson place is nice, but it's not really home. The comment hangs between them. They've been dancing around the housing question for weeks. Maeve's month-to-month lease expires in April. Silas has been sleeping on his sister's couch since he took out the second mortgage, renting out his own place to help cover legal fees. Neither of them wants to push the conversation. Too much change too fast can break fragile things. The mayor wants to schedule a ribbon-cutting ceremony, Maeve says, changing the subject. Full media coverage. He thinks it'll bring positive attention to the town. Publicity means Arthur's people will know exactly where to find you. Arthur's done. His lawyers made that clear when they dropped the case. Silas stops looking at blueprints and studies her face instead. Are you sure about that? Before she can answer, Clara runs over with a chunk of barn wood in her small hands. Look, Daddy, it's a boat. Silas kneels to her level, examining the weathered plank with appropriate seriousness. That's definitely a boat. Where's it sailing to? The moon, Clara announces confidently. Good choice. The moon has excellent parking. Clara giggles and races off to show Leo her discovery. Silas watches her go with the expression of a man still amazed by his own luck. She calls you Daddy now, Maeve says quietly. Started last week. I didn't correct her. I know. I heard. They stand in comfortable silence, watching their children turn construction debris into magical adventures. Outside, hammers ring against metal. Inside, dragons battle pirates on imaginary seas. The lease on Henderson Place expires next month, Maeve says finally. I know. I've been looking at houses for sale. Found a few possibilities on the north side of town. Silas nods without committing to anything. He's been doing that lately, giving her space to make decisions without pressure. There's also your place, she continues. 5 acres on the south side. Room for gardens, workshop space, privacy. My place is a 2-bedroom ranch built in 1987. It needs work. I've seen worse. Maeve kicks at a wood shaving with her boot. I've lived in worse. The kids would need their own rooms eventually. We could add on. Build a proper master suite. Maybe a study. Silas looks at her carefully. We? If you want, she says. If you're interested in a long-term project. I love long-term projects, especially ones that matter. A month later, the Miller Farm Vocational Training Center officially opens its doors. The main barn gleams with fresh paint and new windows. Inside, 12 fully equipped woodworking stations wait for students. Power tools gleam under industrial lighting. Hand tools hang organized on pegboards like surgical instruments. Mayor Hendricks cuts a ceremonial ribbon, while local newspaper photographers snap pictures. The first class starts Monday morning. 15 local kids signed up for the 8-week carpentry program. Free tuition. Free tools. Free lunch provided daily. This represents a significant investment in our community's future, the mayor tells the small crowd gathered outside the barn. Thanks to the generous vision of Maeve Gallagher, our young people will have opportunities that didn't exist before. Maeve stands near the back of the crowd, uncomfortable with the attention. Public recognition feels dangerous after years of staying invisible. But this project matters too much to hide behind anonymous donations. Silas finds her after the ceremony ends. How does it feel to be the town's favorite daughter? Weird, she admits. 10 years ago, half these people acted like I didn't exist. People see what they want to see. Back then, they saw a pretty girl who'd probably marry some local boy and settle down. Now, they see someone who can write checks big enough to save their dying town. Which version is real? Both. Neither. You're not the same person you were at 18, thank God for that. Leo and Clara race around the barn's exterior, chasing each other with sticks they've declared to be magic wands. Their laughter echoes off the metal siding. We should head home, Maeve says, then stops. I mean, back to the house. Home works, Silas says gently. We're building one together, right? 3 weeks later, they move into Silas's place. It's cramped and outdated and perfect. Leo and Clara share the smaller bedroom temporarily while Silas draws plans for additions. a master suite facing the back pasture. Individual bedrooms for the kids, a study where Maeve can handle business calls. "How long will construction take?" Maeve asks, studying his sketches at the kitchen table. 6 months if we do it right. 3 if we cut corners. Do it right. Always. Saturday morning brings the first real test of their new domestic arrangement. Leo wakes up with a fever and an attitude. Clara decides she hates pancakes and wants cereal. But not that cereal, the other cereal, which they don't have. Maeve handles Leo's temperature and medication with calm efficiency. Silas negotiates Clara's breakfast demands like a diplomat resolving international conflict. "Parenting is harder than building rocket ships," he mutters, finally producing acceptable cereal from a cabinet Clara had sworn was empty. "Rocket ships don't have opinions about syrup temperature," Maeve agrees, checking Leo's forehead again. By noon, Leo's fever breaks. Clara has agreed to try pancakes after all. They spend the afternoon in the backyard, where Silas teaches them to identify different types of wood by texture and smell. "Oak is strong but heavy," he explains, handing Clara a smooth board. "Maple is lighter but just as tough. Pine is soft and easy to work with." "Like people," Leo observes with the startling insight that 5-year-olds sometimes possess. "Exactly like people." That evening, after the kids are asleep, Maeve and Silas sit on the back porch with glasses of wine. The spring air smells like honeysuckle and fresh grass. "I got a call from Arthur's lawyer today," Maeve says quietly. Silas goes very still. "About what?" "He wants to buy Gallagher Freight, full acquisition offer, significantly above market value." "How significantly?" "Enough to retire comfortably and never work again." Silas takes a careful sip of wine. "What did you tell him?" "That I'd consider it." "Are you?" Maeve looks out at the pasture where fireflies blink like scattered stars. "I built that company to prove I could. To show Arthur and everyone else that the girl they underestimated could become someone they'd never expect. And now? Now I'm wondering if holding on to it is about pride or purpose. What would you do instead? Focus on projects like the training center, educational initiatives, things that actually help people instead of just moving money around." Silas nods slowly. "Sounds like you already know what you want to do. I want to make sure it's the right choice, for all of us. The right choice is whatever lets you sleep peacefully next to the people you love." Maeve turns to study his profile in the porch light. "Is that what we're doing? Living next to people we love?" "I hope so," he says simply. "I love you, Maeve. I love Leo and Clara. I want to build a life with all of you, whatever that looks like. Even if it means being married to a woman who just sold $1 billion company to focus on small-town charity work. Especially then. If you're wondering whether love can actually conquer corporate lawyers and childhood trauma, keep watching, because this story is about to show you exactly what happens when two people decide to build something beautiful together." 2 days later, Maeve calls Arthur's lawyer back. She accepts his acquisition offer with 3 non-negotiable conditions. First, all current employees keep their jobs with improved benefits packages. Second, the company maintains its commitment to ethical business practices. Third, Arthur stays out of her personal life permanently. "Done," the lawyer says immediately. "Mr. Pendleton expected you might have demands. Those aren't demands, they're requirements." The paperwork takes a week. When it's finished, Maeve Gallagher officially becomes the former owner of a logistics empire and the current architect of something much smaller, but infinitely more meaningful. She frames the final contract and hangs it in what will become her study, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Sometimes the most important victories look like walking away from battles you've already won. Summer arrives like an old friend returning home. The addition to Silas's house takes shape beam by beam, room by room. Leo and Clara spend their days following the construction crew around, asking questions that range from brilliant to absurd. Why do walls need studs if they're not horses? Clara wants to know. Different kind of stud bug, Silas explains patiently. These hold up the walls so the roof doesn't fall on our heads. That seems important, she agrees seriously. The master bedroom overlooks the back pasture where 3 rescue horses now graze. Maeve bought them on impulse after seeing an ad in the local paper. Retired racehorses who needed a quiet place to live out their years. You realize we know nothing about horses, Silas pointed out when the trailer pulled up. How hard can it be? Maeve replied. Famous last words. They learned quickly. Horses require schedules, veterinary care, and personalities as complex as any humans. Thunder, the oldest gelding, refuses to eat unless his food bowl sits exactly 12 inches from the fence post. Lightning won't come in from the rain without extensive coaxing. Storm follows Leo around like an overgrown puppy. They're basically 1,000-pound toddlers, Maeve observes one evening, watching Leo feed Storm carrots through the fence. With hooves, Silas adds. Don't forget the hooves. The Vocational Training Center graduates its first class in July. 15 young adults receive certificates in basic carpentry. More importantly, 12 of them immediately find employment with local contractors who desperately need skilled workers. We're expanding the program, Maeve announces at the graduation ceremony. Fall semester will add electrical and plumbing courses. Spring will introduce small engine repair and welding. The applause from parents and town officials sounds like hope. Real hope, based on tangible results rather than empty promises. Silas speaks briefly about the importance of learning trades that can't be outsourced or replaced by computers. These skills will still matter in 50 years, he tells the graduates. You're building careers that will support families and communities for decades. After the ceremony, Maeve finds herself surrounded by grateful parents and curious local business owners. Everyone wants to know about future programs, funding sources, application deadlines. You've become quite the local celebrity, Silas observes as they drive home. I've become useful, she corrects. There's a difference. Both can be true. That night, after Leo and Clara fall asleep, Maeve and Silas walk through the unfinished addition. Studs frame the future rooms like skeletons waiting for skin. The master bathroom will have a clawfoot tub positioned to overlook the pasture. The study will have built-in bookshelves and a window seat where she can handle video conferences. The kids' rooms will be ready by August, Silas reports, checking measurements against his blueprints. We can move them in before school starts. Leo wants dinosaur wallpaper. Clara wants rainbows. I know already ordered both. Maeve stops walking and looks at him. You ordered wallpaper without asking me. I asked them. It's their rooms. The simple logic of this catches her off guard. Throughout her marriage to Arthur, every decision required negotiation, compromise, strategic positioning. The idea that children might have opinions about their own living spaces never entered the equation. Arthur would have hired a decorator, she says quietly. Someone with credentials and a portfolio. The kids would have gotten whatever looked best in magazines. Arthur's not here, Silas reminds her gently. And this isn't his house. No, it's ours. Yes, it is. August brings enrollment paperwork for the local elementary school. Leo will start kindergarten. Clara enters pre-K. Both are excited about riding the school bus, making new friends, learning to read chapter books. What if the other kids ask questions about where we came from? Leo wants to know during dinner one evening. What kind of questions? Maeve asks. Like why I don't look exactly like you. Or why Clara and I have different last names than Daddy. Silas and Maeve exchange glances. They've discussed this moment but hoped it wouldn't arrive quite so soon. What would you like to tell them? Silas asks carefully. Leo considers this with the seriousness he applies to all important matters. That families come in different shapes, and sometimes it takes a while for all the pieces to find each other. That's perfect, Maeve says, her throat suddenly tight. But can we all have the same last name now? Clara adds, so it's less confusing. The question hangs in the air like smoke. Legal name changes require paperwork, court appearances, official documentation, but more than that, they require commitment, the kind that can't be undone with a simple change of heart. Would you like that? Silas asks both children. Yes, they say simultaneously. Then we'll figure out how to make it happen, Maeve promises. September arrives with school buses and packed lunches and the controlled chaos of new routines. Leo thrives in kindergarten, making friends easily and bringing home artwork that covers every surface of the refrigerator. Clara approaches pre-K with characteristic determination, announcing her intention to learn cursive writing by Christmas. She's 4, Silas points out. She's focused, Maeve counters. Focus beats age every time. The master bedroom edition is finally complete in October. Maeve and Silas spend their first night in the new space, surrounded by boxes they haven't unpacked, and furniture that still smells like fresh paint. It doesn't feel real yet, Maeve admits, lying in bed and staring at the ceiling beams Silas installed by hand. What part? Any of it, this house, this life. The fact that you're here next to me instead of in some parallel universe where I never came back. Silas rolls over to face her. What would that universe look like? You'd probably be married to someone sensible. A local girl who never left town. Someone who wouldn't drag you through legal battles or complicated living arrangements. Boring, he says immediately. Peaceful. Same thing, Maeve laughs despite herself. You don't know that. Maybe she would have been exciting in normal ways. Softball league championships, bake sale competitions, PTA presidency. I hate softball. I can't bake anything except grilled cheese, and PTA meetings make me want to hide in my workshop for days. So you prefer corporate espionage and billionaire ex-husbands? I prefer you, he says simply. All of you. The complicated parts, the scary parts, the parts that don't make logical sense. Even the parts that come with horses we don't know how to care for. Especially those parts. November brings the first snow and enrollment applications for the spring vocational program. Word has spread beyond Oakhaven. Young adults from 3 neighboring counties want to attend the carpentry, electrical, and plumbing courses. We're going to need more instructors, Maeve tells Silas over breakfast while reviewing applications. I know a few guys who might be interested, retired tradesmen looking for part-time work. Can they handle teaching teenagers? Better than most college professors, probably. These guys learned their trades when making mistakes meant starting over from scratch. The name change paperwork finally goes through in December. Leonard Silas Thorne and Clara May Thorne receive their updated birth certificates on a Tuesday morning that feels like Christmas. Leo holds his certificate carefully, tracing his new name with one finger. Now we match, he announces with satisfaction. Now we match, Maeve agrees. That evening, Silas finds her in the study staring at legal documents spread across her desk. Second thoughts? He asks. Just making sure it's real. The names are real. The family is real. This house, this life, these kids who call me daddy and you mama, all real. Maeve looks up at him. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. For Arthur to change his mind about the buyout. For you to decide this is too complicated. For the kids to ask why their biological father sold them for business leverage. Arthur signed legally binding agreements. I signed up for complicated the day I met you at 17. And the kids will ask hard questions eventually, but they'll also understand that some people aren't capable of being parents. How can you be so sure about everything? Because I've seen you build impossible things before. You turned heartbreak into an empire. You turned exile into education. You're currently turning a dying town into something worth staying in. Silas sits on the edge of her desk, careful not to disturb the papers. You don't build things hoping they'll fail. You build them to last. Outside, snow falls steadily against the study windows. The horses stand close together near the barn, sharing warmth. Leo and Clara sleep soundly in rooms decorated exactly the way they wanted. If you believe that some people are worth waiting for, and some fights are worth having, then you understand why this story had to end exactly the way it's about to end. Christmas morning arrives with the kind of snow that makes everything look like a postcard. Leo and Clara wake before dawn, racing downstairs in footy pajamas to discover presents arranged around a tree that Silas cut from their own back pasture. "Santa found our new house," Clara observes with relief. "Santa's good at that," Maeve assures her. The morning passes in a blur of wrapping paper and exclamations of delight. New blocks for Leo, art supplies for Clara, warm socks for the adults who spend too much time in unheated barns. But the real gift comes after lunch, when all four of them pile into the truck to deliver Christmas dinner to families whose breadwinners are students in the vocational program. "Why are we bringing food to other people?" Leo asks from the back seat. "Because Christmas is about sharing what we have with people who need it," Maeve explains. "But don't they have their own Christmas dinner?" "Some do, some don't. Some have had hard years and could use help." Leo considers this, like when Daddy helped us even though he didn't have to. Exactly like that. Spring returns to Oakhaven with the promise of new beginnings. The Vocational Training Center's second year brings 60 applications for 30 available spots. Students arrive from 4 counties, some driving 2 hours each way for classes they can't find anywhere else. Maeve stands in the main barn, watching a welding instructor demonstrate proper torch technique to a group of eager 20-somethings. The air smells like hot metal and possibility. "We're going to need a second building," Silas says, joining her near the entrance. His hands are stained with wood finish from the cabinet-making class he teaches on Wednesday evenings. "I've been looking at the Morrison property across the road, 12 acres, existing outbuildings. We could convert the machine shop for automotive repair courses." "That's ambitious." "I like ambitious." Leo and Clara burst through the barn doors, fresh from school and full of news about art projects and playground politics. They've adapted completely to small-town life, making friends who don't care about trust funds or corporate takeovers. "Mama, can we visit the horses before homework?" Clara asks, already tugging on her boots. 30 minutes, Maeve agrees. Then math worksheets. The children race toward the pasture where thunder, lightning, and Storm wait for their daily attention. Leo has become Storm's official groomer, brushing the old horse with careful strokes while chattering about kindergarten adventures. "They're happy here," Silas observes. "We all are. Even you? No regrets about giving up the corporate empire?" Maeve considers the question seriously. 6 months ago, she controlled shipping routes across 3 continents. Her decisions affected thousands of employees and millions in revenue. Now her biggest challenge is finding qualified instructors for small engine repair. "I miss the complexity sometimes," she admits. "But I don't miss the isolation. Building an empire is lonely work." "Building a family isn't." "No, it isn't." The spring semester graduation ceremony draws the largest crowd in the vocational center's short history. 30 students receive certificates in carpentry, electrical work, plumbing, and welding. 28 already have job offers waiting. Mayor Hendricks speaks about economic development and workforce training. Local business owners praise the program's practical approach. Parents cry during the diploma presentations. But the real celebration happens afterward, when graduates and their families gather for barbecue in the field behind the barn. Folding tables groan under the weight of potluck dishes. Children chase fireflies, while adults share stories and forge connections that will last decades. "This is what success looks like," Maeve tells Silas as they watch their own children play tag with the younger siblings of graduates. "Different than boardrooms and profit margins." "Better." A familiar black sedan pulls into the gravel parking area during the height of the celebration. Arthur Pendleton steps out, looking distinctly overdressed in a tailored suit that probably costs more than most attendees make in a month. Conversations don't stop, but they quiet slightly. People sense the arrival of something that doesn't belong. Arthur approaches the buffet table where Maeve stands refilling the cornbread basket. He looks older than she remembers. Grayer. The lines around his eyes speak of stress and sleepless nights. "Hello, Maeve." "Arthur." Her voice is completely neutral. No fear, no anger. Just acknowledgement. "Impressive operation you have here, though I have to say it seems like a significant step down from running a billion-dollar logistics network." Silas appears beside her, carrying Leo on his shoulders. He doesn't say anything, just stands close enough to make his presence clear. "Arthur, this is Silas Thorne." "Silas. Arthur Pendleton, my former husband." The men nod at each other without shaking hands. Leo examines Arthur with the frank curiosity of a 6-year-old encountering an exotic zoo animal. "Are you the mean man Mama used to be married to?" Leo asks innocently. Arthur's carefully controlled expression cracks slightly. "I prefer to think of myself as misunderstood." "That's what mean people usually say," Leo observes with devastating childhood logic. "What brings you to our graduation ceremony?" Maeve asks, steering the conversation away from further observations from her son. "I wanted to see what you've built with your freedom, and to make sure you're truly happy with your choices." "Why would my happiness concern you?" Arthur looks around at the crowd of families celebrating modest achievements with genuine joy. "Because I'm beginning to realize that destroying what we had might have been the biggest mistake of my life." The admission hangs in the evening air like smoke from the barbecue grills. "You didn't destroy what we had," Maeve says quietly. "We never had anything real to destroy. You had a trophy wife. I had a business arrangement. Neither of us had a marriage. It could have been different." "No, it couldn't have." Silas adjusts Leo's position on his shoulders and speaks for the first time. "She's right. Some things can't be fixed because they were never built on solid foundations to begin with." Arthur studies Silas with the calculating gaze of a man accustomed to sizing up opponents. "And you think your foundation is solid?" "I know it is. We built it together, one honest conversation at a time." Clara runs over, breathless from chasing fireflies. She looks up at Arthur with the same fearless curiosity her brother displayed. "Are you staying for cake?" she asks. "Mrs. Henderson made chocolate." "Thank you, but I don't think I'll be staying," Arthur replies gently. He turns back to Maeve. "I came to apologize. For the custody threats. For trying to use the children as leverage. For every time I treated you like property instead of a person." The apology catches Maeve off guard. In 5 years of marriage, Arthur never admitted wrongdoing about anything. "I accept your apology," she says carefully. "I also came to tell you that I'm selling Gallagher Freight." "What?" "The company you built. I'm liquidating the assets and donating the proceeds to educational initiatives. Specifically, vocational training programs for underserved communities." Maeve stares at him. "Why?" "Because you were right about what matters. Because watching what you've accomplished here makes my corporate victories look hollow." Arthur glances around at the celebration continuing around them. "And because I'd rather be remembered for supporting something meaningful than for accumulating wealth I can't take with me." He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a legal envelope. "The paperwork establishing the Maeve Gallagher Educational Foundation. You're listed as the primary advisor, with full discretionary authority over grant distributions." "I can't accept this." "You already have. I filed the papers yesterday." Arthur looks at Leo and Clara, then at Silas, then back at Maeve. "I hope your children understand how lucky they are to have parents who know the difference between success and fulfillment." He walks back to his sedan without another word. The black car disappears down the gravel road, leaving behind questions and possibilities that will take time to process. "Was that really the mean man?" Leo asks from his perch on Silas's shoulders. "That was a sad man trying to become a better one," Maeve answers honestly. 2 months later, The first grants from the Maeve Gallagher Educational Foundation fund vocational training programs in 12 rural communities across 3 states. Applications pour in from small towns facing the same economic challenges that once threatened Oakhaven. "We're going to need staff," Maeve tells Silas one evening as they review grant proposals at the kitchen table. "Good staff. The best. People who understand that real change happens one student at a time. Know anyone who might be interested in that kind of work?" Maeve looks around at the life they've built together. The addition seamlessly blends with the original house. Leo's dinosaur room and Clara's rainbow sanctuary reflect their personalities perfectly. The study where she now manages educational initiatives instead of shipping logistics feels more like home than any corporate office ever did. "I might know someone," she says. That night, after the children fall asleep, Maeve and Silas walk out to the pasture where the horses graze under starlight. Thunder approaches the fence, hoping for late-night carrots. Lightning maintains his dignified distance. Storm follows them along the fence line like an overgrown puppy. "Do you ever miss the excitement?" Silas asks. "Corporate deals? Private jets? Boardroom victories?" "I thought I would," Maeve admits. "But this is exciting in different ways. Watching Leo learn to read. Seeing Clara master cursive writing. Getting reports about graduates who've started their own businesses. Smaller victories. More personal ones." Silas wraps his arms around her from behind any regrets about coming back to a town that threw you away. "They didn't throw me away," Maeve says, leaning against his chest. "They just didn't know who I was yet. Sometimes it takes time for people to see what's really in front of them. And sometimes it takes losing everything to understand what actually matters. Sometimes." Above them, stars scatter across a sky unpolluted by city lights. In the distance, the lights of Oakhaven twinkle like earthbound constellations. The vocational center sits dark and quiet, waiting for tomorrow's students to arrive with dreams that practical skills can make reality. This is what victory looks like when you stop trying to prove your worth to people who never deserve to judge it. This is what happens when you choose to build rather than destroy, to create rather than conquer. Maeve Gallagher came home not as the broken girl who left, but as the woman she needed to become. And in choosing love over revenge, family over empire, she discovered that the most powerful transformation isn't changing who you are. It's having the courage to become who you were always meant to be. Sometimes the greatest revenge is living so well that your enemies become footnotes in your joy. Sometimes winning means walking away from battles that don't deserve your energy. And sometimes coming home means building something so beautiful that everyone who doubted you wishes they'd been wise enough to help. What would you choose if you had the power to destroy your enemies or the opportunity to outgrow them completely? Let me know in the comments below. And subscribe for more stories about people who discovered that the best revenge is a life so fulfilling it makes your past pain irrelevant.